On that fateful day, as my mother crossed the threshold of our home, my stepfather quietly vanished, leaving no trace behind. I found myself gazing past him, adrift in my own reflections. It was a familiar scene, one I had witnessed countless times before as he prepared to embark on his daily journey after the morning meal. As I started tidying up the kitchen, I discovered myself scrubbing the final dish each one, a tiny chapter in the journey to restore a sense of harmony. The silence wrapped around the space, a stillness that resonated with the depth of untold tales. The soothing trickle of water from the faucet dances with the delicate sound of clinking dishes, crafting a serene pause in the whirlwind of existence. Lost in my thoughts, I was completely oblivious to the figure silently approaching from behind. In a heartbeat, an unexpected nudge startled me, rendering me motionless. A wave of emotion surged within me, freezing me in place, unmovable and steadfast. In that instant, my breath came to a halt. My childhood was deeply influenced by my stepfather, whose presence loomed large in my life. His presence lingered too near, stirring a tide of discomfort within me. In a desperate battle, I fought against the relentless hold, but it was steadfast, offering no chance for freedom. In that moment, an uneasy feeling washed over me, bringing with it a flood of inquiries that reverberated in the stillness. The family kitchen morphed into a realm that felt suffocating, with each inhalation turning into a battle against the heaviness of the air. And from that moment onward, the intriguing saga of my life began to unfold. Once upon a time, a warm greeting was shared with everyone. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Emily. At 24 years old, my journey has been profoundly influenced by my mother, who has been my unwavering support since my childhood, especially after the early loss of my father. My mother, Susan, is a true testament to strength and resilience in all that she does. She sacrificed countless things to shape my journey. In my early years, the love and care of my mother shone brightly, even amidst the challenges we faced. My mother imparted the significance of self-reliance and tenacity, encouraging me to face obstacles with steadfast courage. I frequently thought that the bond we shared was everything we genuinely needed. At 20, my life embarked on an unexpected journey that I could never have foreseen. It was a moment that stayed with me the first time my mother revealed that she had met someone who meant so much to her, a person with whom she longed to weave a richer bond. It took me by surprise, as my mother had appeared so removed from the concept of love ever since my father's departure, yet there was an essence about her that seemed transformed. Her eyes glimmered with a brightness that challenged the darkness, and a smile rested on her lips, a symbol of strength in the face of adversity she had endured. She shared her wish for me to meet that man, to officially embrace him as part of our family. When our lives intertwined, I was struck by the remarkable presence of my future stepfather, David. He stood tall, his presence hinting at the many chapters of his life, yet he bore an air of youthfulness that belied the years he had experienced. He was merely a few years older than I was. From a distance, he looked like any ordinary man, but the reality of his bond with my mother was a mystery that eluded everyone. Yet there are moments when I find myself weaving a narrative, perceiving him as my brother or a cherished companion. His smile radiated a captivating allure, while his deep blue eyes had a magnetic quality, effortlessly stirring feelings of empathy in those who met his gaze. It was that very youth and elegance that enveloped me in a sense of wonder. Understanding why David chose my mother was a challenge for me. A woman in her 40s, with a beauty that has stood the test of time, carries within her a richness that hints at unspoken tales and quiet battles. At first, I tried to seem relaxed, not wanting to weigh down my mother with any additional concerns. As the days passed, a subtle realization started to take root in my mind, a gentle understanding that all was not as it seemed. In numerous instances, I found myself looking to my mother, yearning for the insights that seemed just beyond my grasp. Mom, what made him decide to walk this journey with you? Could he truly be that youthful? Could there be a hidden narrative woven into the fabric of his actions? Every time I extended my hand, I was met with quietude, only to be followed by a scolding. Her demeanor carried a profound depth, a heaviness that conveyed unspoken tales. Her voice resonated with unwavering power. Emily, I urge you to think carefully about what you've said. That is a deep bond. Amidst everything that has happened, David's affection for Mom endures deeply anchored in the core of her being, impervious to the challenges around them. In the depths of my heart, I yearned to place my faith in my mother, but a shadow of doubt danced in my mind. David's demeanor had transformed completely. He always displayed a remarkable degree of courtesy and consideration for my mother, as if it were a carefully crafted narrative. He embraced the duties of cooking and cleaning, offering support to my mother with the daily tasks around the house. It was a trait I had never come across in any other man. Every time he looked my way, I felt a disquieting intensity in his gaze. Those eyes conveyed a richness that went beyond the ordinary look of an uncle at his stepdaughter, capturing an unexpressed depth that is difficult to put into words. I comforted myself with the thought that maybe I was getting lost in my own thoughts and that it was time to give him a chance to show what he could bring to the table. My mother and David embarked on their journey together after only a few months of acquaintance, quickly weaving themselves into the fabric of our family story. Yet I couldn't help but notice how his presence in this country house in Tuscany had changed the entire atmosphere. Family meals have evolved into a scene that feels entirely foreign. There's a palpable energy that hangs between us, an unsettling atmosphere that I find difficult to articulate, yet I find myself hesitating, fully conscious of the happiness it brings my mother. In David, she discovers a reliable anchor, a source of joy and comfort that illuminates the darkness of her previous loneliness. I found myself wrestling with a deep inner turmoil. The idea of bringing sorrow to my mother sat heavily on my heart, but an intriguing curiosity stirred within me. There was an undeniable sense that behind his flawless grin lay untold narratives about his affection for her, secrets just waiting for me to reveal. As the days went by, I gradually found myself embracing David as one of our own. At first glance, he appeared reserved and somewhat out of place, yet there was an undeniable glow he infused into my mother's life, a warmth that illuminated the corners where darkness once resided. He often lent a hand with the chores around the house, whipped up delicious meals, and always carried himself with kindness and respect. As the days unfolded, a feeling of steadiness started to take shape, leading me to ponder that perhaps my initial doubts were simply creations of my imagination. One evening, after a tiring and demanding day at the university, I discovered myself in search of comfort in the bathroom, a tiny sanctuary where I could briefly evade the burdens of life. Amidst the whirlwind of daily life, I discovered myself draping my underwear in the bathroom, a simple gesture of order in the midst of the chaos. My plan was to collect everything with the rest of my clothes the next morning, a straightforward approach to bring a bit of harmony back into my life. As I stepped out of the comforting embrace of the shower, I wrapped myself snugly in a towel. Venturing out from the sanctuary of the bathroom, I seek garments to wear, a simple gesture of everyday life amidst the swirling echoes of my mind. However, upon my return to look for it, my underwear had mysteriously vanished. I took a moment to ponder the chance that it could have slipped through my fingers during my journey. I scoured the bathroom, gently pulling open each cabinet door and crouching down to glimpse beneath the sink, but at first it appeared to slip away from my grasp entirely. I found myself pondering whether I had inadvertently left it behind in the bedroom, hidden among the whispers of my history. I returned to my room, digging through the pile of unwashed clothes and searching the drawers, but it remained just out of reach. An unusual feeling awakened inside me, casting me into a realm of confusion. The pants lingered in my memory, a constant companion before I entered the shower. But now they had disappeared, creating a disquieting void in their absence. Once I had transformed, I entered the living room where my mother and David were captivated by the dancing lights on the television screen. They seemed to blend in effortlessly, just like everyone around them, comfortable in their environment. Mom couldn't help but burst into laughter at a scene on the screen, a delightful moment that cut through the heaviness of it all. In a fleeting instant, I was enveloped in a quiet pause before the right words emerged to unveil the weight that rested within me. Mom, David, it seems. Someone just stepped away for a moment. Having just stepped out of the shower, I find myself enveloped in a lingering void, as if something vital has quietly faded into the background. They both looked at me, their faces reflecting a blend of astonishment and intrigue. Mom asked, "What have you misplaced?" A stillness settled deep within me. I decided to keep my reply open-ended, offering a response without exploring the intricacies. Truly, it resonates on a profound level. A cherished belonging I had placed in the bathroom appeared to have vanished, filling me with a feeling of emptiness and bewilderment. David's lips curled into a subtle smile, his head bobbing slightly in recognition. Everyone remained rooted in place. Maybe it has faded from your memory. Strive to remember. Have you ever pondered whether it was abandoned, lost in a far-off place, and left to fade into memory? David and I sat here, enveloped in the richness of our shared experiences. The bathroom remained untouched, a place where no one dared to go. I stayed quiet, keeping any additional thoughts to myself. As I settled into my space, I embraced the quietude that enveloped me. Deep within my heart, I clung to the belief that maybe it was just a matter of misplacing it, a momentary recollection hidden away in the dim corners of my thoughts. Still, that disquieting feeling remained. Even as I tried to brush it off as unimportant, a part of me couldn't help but wonder if I had really moved on from it all. What tales could my missing underwear tell? I ponder ever since that day. A mysterious feeling has remained in my thoughts, one that eludes my ability to express or pinpoint its source. An invisible watcher seems to follow my every step, a lingering echo of the past that shapes my journey. At first, I tried to calm my racing thoughts, telling myself that my increased awareness was just a reaction to the strange event of my missing underwear. Still, that disquieting sensation remained stubbornly clinging on. In contrast, it slowly unfolded, becoming increasingly vivid and unmistakable. The experience of showering held an eerie quality that lingered in the air. The bathroom door, with its sleek, polished surface, served as a threshold, a faintly illuminated hint of the experiences waiting just beyond its frame. From the outside, I could only catch a glimpse of the figure within the intricacies cloaked in mystery. At first, I could discern a subtle shape of a figure lingering just beyond the threshold. In quiet moments, especially during the familiar act of showering, I started to feel a mysterious presence lingering around me. It was a whisper of a presence, a fleeting shadow that danced just outside the bathroom door, teasing the edge of perception. For a fleeting moment, it lingered, a shadowy figure, before dissolving into the void, leaving me with a haunting sense of what was no longer there. On a particular night, the reality started to reveal itself to me. As I entered the bathroom, hoping to find comfort in the embrace of the hot water, an unexpected chill seized me. In that brief instant, my eyes caught sight of a shadowy silhouette standing just outside the glass door. In that instant, it was as though the breath of life had vanished from my chest. My heart raced with a fervor that was nearly all-consuming. "Who might it be?" I whispered gently into the stillness, but no answer echoed in return. I moved nearer to the glass door, eager to catch a sight, but the figure had disappeared without a trace. As I turned the handle and stepped into the hallway, a deep silence wrapped around me, inviting me to uncover the tales hidden within its walls. The hallway past the bathroom was quiet and empty. In that moment, I was wrapped in solitude, with only a soft glow from the living room to keep me company. In that quiet moment, I found myself suspended in time, listening intently for any whisper, but the silence wrapped around me like a haunting presence. I attempted to persuade myself that maybe it was all in my head, or just a trick of the light swirling in front of me, but an unsettling feeling remained, stretching its influence beyond the walls of the bathroom. As time passed, an eerie feeling of being observed lingered in the air, dimming the comfort I once found within those walls. As I walked down the corridor, a strange feeling enveloped me, a subtle hint that perhaps someone was watching from the darkness. At times, I caught myself looking back, but the empty hallway responded with an eerie silence that sent shivers down my spine. As I nestled into the living room, a peculiar awareness wrapped around me, a feeling that an invisible presence hovered nearby, silently observing every movement I made. As I navigated the kitchen or stood by the window, a brief flicker would draw my attention, igniting a shiver within me, but when I turned to investigate, an unsettling calm blanketed the area, as if time itself had halted, wiping away all evidence of what had occurred. As the hours passed, I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe it was all just a creation of my own restless thoughts, a tale spun by my anxious mind. Perhaps the light streaming in from outside, or the silhouettes of the objects surrounding me, sparked visions that ignited a deep sense of dread within me. However, as night descended and the house sank into a deep stillness, cloaked by the heaviness of darkness, that sensation grew stronger, encasing me like an old familiar embrace. With every step I took, I felt a profound connection, as if my journey resonated not only within my own being, but also in the lives of others, weaving our experiences together in a tapestry of shared moments that I could barely grasp. A feeling of discomfort crept into my mind, lingering even in the supposed sanctuary of my own space. In the quiet of the night, as I immersed myself in the pages of a book or began to drift off, a soft sound floated into my awareness. There was a gentle whisper of footsteps, cautious and drawn out, as if a presence had momentarily halted just beyond my threshold. I ventured out to survey my surroundings repeatedly, yet the corridor held its quietude, with the doors to the other rooms securely closed. Every time I settled back into bed, I wrestled with the disquieting feelings that hung around me. I decided to keep this to myself, knowing that my mother would probably react with disapproval towards my feelings. She would frequently say, "You're overanalyzing it." David held on to his characteristic tranquility, hiding any hints of chaos just below the surface. His calmness wrapped around me like a shroud, intensifying the unease that settled in my bones, a chill so deep it left me grappling with its very nature. As the days went by, a sense of discomfort settled within me, stubbornly holding on and refusing to let go. In contrast, it slowly unfolded, becoming clearer with each passing moment. It felt like a wave from the past had surged forward, bringing with it a well-known pattern, as My underwear disappeared from the bathroom yet again. That night revealed itself in a manner reminiscent of those that had come before. Once I wrapped up my shower, I got dressed and ventured outside the moisture in my hair, echoing the familiar rhythm of my daily life. As I stood before the mirror in the living room, the soft fabric of the towel glided through my damp hair, each stroke weaving a narrative of comfort that wrapped around me after a long, arduous day. Just as I was about to head back to the bathroom to brush my teeth, the door suddenly swung open, and there stood David, emerging from inside. He looked refined, his outfit meticulously selected, and in his grasp was a towel, a subtle yet meaningful detail that suggested a richer narrative lurking just below the surface. "Could you grab a towel for your mother?" he asked, his smile as warm and comforting as ever. As I sat there deeply engaged in my work, my thoughts drifted into a serene stillness, shielded from the tumult that frequently surrounded me. As I re-entered the bathroom, a strange sensation enveloped me, hinting that all was not right. The underwear I had carelessly left on the hanger had disappeared as if it had been swept away by an unseen force, leaving me with a puzzling mix of bewilderment and emptiness. I searched every inch of the bathroom, scrutinizing the basket tucked away in the darkest corners, but it had disappeared as if it never existed. An unusual feeling coursed through me, stronger than anything I had experienced previously. As I delved into my recollections, a striking scene unfolded. David emerging from the bathroom, a moment forever imprinted in my thoughts. What was he experiencing at that precise moment in that particular setting? Could his presence be intertwined with this journey? At first, I embarked on a journey to discover tranquility deep within. I thought he was just going out to grab something for his mother, as he had said. Yet this unexpected alignment urged me to delve into the questions that had been quietly residing in my mind. I paused, letting the stillness envelop me before I found my voice. I cradled my uncertainties, hidden deep within the chambers of my soul. From that moment on, I became captivated by every move David made. His increasing comfort only amplified my perception, making me more attuned than I had ever felt before. Amidst the puzzling, vanishing act of my underwear, I felt an unexpected pull towards David, watching him with a fresh perspective. Each movement, each look, each deed of his unfolded like a captivating narrative before my eyes, yet an eerie awareness lingered within him, as though he could feel my attentive eyes fixed upon him. Every time he arrived, there was an eerie tranquility surrounding him, a mask of suitable conduct that seemed almost practiced. The serene atmosphere enveloping me, instead of offering comfort, only intensified my bewilderment. Am I reading too much into this, or is there really something he's hiding? Life flowed along its familiar path until one fateful day, the layers started to unravel, revealing the hidden truths beneath. It was a Saturday, a day rich with its own significance and recollections. On that day, as I settled into the comfort of home, my mother and David continued their daily rituals, departing for work just like any other day. The morning began to weave its usual tale. As the first light of day broke, David and my mother embraced the stillness of the morning, weaving together the simple ritual of preparing breakfast side by side. Their smiles served as a soft beacon of strength and kindness amidst the trials of existence. As soon as my mother wrapped up her meal in a rush, she dashed out of the house, resolute in her quest to arrive at work punctually. David followed her, closely lingering just a heartbeat away from the depths of his own reflections. Before he left, he took a moment to softly encourage me to stay at home and allow myself some time to relax. If you ever find yourself in a bind, feel free to get in touch with me. I formed my lips into what resembled a smile, but underneath that surface, a profound and persistent anxiety swirled inside me, a sensation I found difficult to express. Once I wrapped up breakfast, I paused to clear the dining table, then dove into organizing the living room, each little chore a step towards restoring my sanctuary. The quiet wrapped around me, every step echoing in the hush, a testament to my existence in that boundless void. Outside, the sunlight streamed through the window, creating a warm glow in a room that felt familiar, yet today stirred an unsettling sense of unease within me. As I bent down to collect some things for tidying up, a sudden hold wrapped around my waist, drawing me back into an unforeseen moment. I paused, feeling a weight settled in my chest. In that instant, an overwhelming surge of astonishment and dread enveloped me, rendering me motionless, unable to react. "Emily, your beauty shines in ways that touch the heart and resonate deeply." A gentle murmur brushed against my ear. The sound of David's voice resonated, weaving through the tapestry of memories that danced in the shadows of my mind. In that instant, the world stood still, and my heart appeared to have stopped beating altogether. I fought against the hold, yet his presence remained close. With a strong voice, I urged him to take a step back yet. My plea fell on deaf ears. He took a moment before responding. He released a soft yet tinged with bitterness laugh, the sound slipping through his tightly pressed teeth. His breath brushed against my neck, heightening the wave of panic that had already taken hold of me. In a moment of reflection, I discovered I was caught in a situation where I felt powerless to speak up, as though my efforts were rendered insignificant. I yearned for a fleeting moment of joy and imagination. David's voice was soft as a breeze, yet his hold on my waist was as strong as iron, a quiet vow that he had no plans of letting me go. His voice held a soothing quality, yet it was laced with an unsettling undercurrent of fear. I urged him to back off, yet he seemed not to hear my request, leaving me with an unsettling sense of danger that sent ripples of fear through my being. I fought with all my might, but his hold on me grew stronger, as though he were deliberately testing my resolve to escape. What tale are you weaving at this moment? Set me free. A chill coursed through my veins. My voice was held captive inside me. David sprang into action without a moment's pause. He loomed too near, encroaching upon my personal bubble in a manner that felt unsettling, sending a shiver racing through my body. The atmosphere is thick with anticipation. Emily, I was just having a bit of fun. His words carried a gravity that overshadowed any hint of lightheartedness. It seemed like he was trying to ease my inner chaos, but somehow it didn't quite manage to bring me the peace I sought. I pleaded for you to cease, my voice trembling with a blend of frustration and dread. I tried to pry his hands from mine, but David clung on fiercely, refusing to let me go. Instead, he stayed near, despite my discomfort, wrapping me in a feeling of being trapped in a tale with no way out. His eyes possessed a depth so profound that they stirred something deep within me. He shared thoughts that lingered in the air, creating a sense of unease that I found hard to confront. I remained motionless, engulfed by the feeling that everything around me was crumbling away. His behavior crossed a line of comfort I never imagined would be challenged, shattering the delicate walls I had carefully constructed around my heart. From the moment our eyes met, I sensed a bond that was deep and disquieting. He said, his voice husky and gravelly. Every word echoed profoundly within me, etching a lasting impression on my essence, yet I hesitated, consumed by the dread that your mother could uncover the reality. As the moment stretched on, I clung to the unfolding narrative of time, eagerly anticipating the arrival of this day. In that moment, I was enveloped in a haze of astonishment, wrestling with the profound impact of the words that had just washed over me. What message are you hoping to share, David? My voice trembled, balancing precariously on the brink of shattering, but I struggled to keep my poise. What could possibly lead you to think that? What could possibly drive you to cause such suffering to my mother? He took a moment before answering, his eyes fixed on me as if he could feel the storm brewing inside. In that instant, a flicker of determination shone brightly in his gaze. It's not your mother who captures my affection. It's you, the one I've always dreamed of encountering. The impact of the words struck me with an intensity that was nearly overwhelming, leaving me disoriented. It was beyond my comprehension that David, a man my mother esteemed and trusted so profoundly, could speak such terrible words at this moment just once. Emily, his voice hung in the air, a blend of longing and steadfast determination. I really need some room to breathe right now. I assure you, your mother will be safe with me. This is a cherished connection, a relationship built in quiet moments. I found myself wrestling with the waves of my feelings, battling the fury that rose up inside me. How could he be so oblivious, so completely adrift in his own reality? Yet the power of his strength and the wildness of his actions enveloped me, leaving me with a feeling of being overwhelmed by the situation. I urged him to back off, yet he seemed unaware of my discomfort, intensifying the unease in the air. His words were spoken too closely, a feeling that unleashed a torrent of anguish and constriction, as if everything around us had dissolved into obscurity. In that moment, I was immersed in the profound struggle of her surrender, as if she had finally encountered the boundaries of her strength, a striking departure from the facade of control she had once maintained. David's words hung in the atmosphere, his gaze stripping away my defenses and heightening my unease, while his proximity felt inappropriate that could never be uncrossed. Throughout that day, David and I became wrapped in a chaos that I struggled to express. In that moment, my feelings intertwined in a tumultuous mix of turmoil, remorse, anxiety, and uncertainty. It was difficult to come to terms with the fact that I had let circumstances slip away from me, that something so unfathomable had actually occurred. As time flowed, moments danced past in a haze, yet each tick of the clock lingered, stretching into infinity. I found myself reminiscing about the path that brought me to this point in time. When my mother came home that night, she was clearly surprised to see David there, and the atmosphere was thick with unexpressed bad feelings. He frequently found himself arriving home later than expected because of work, but today had a different feel, as if the very fabric of time had altered in an unforeseen manner. My mother placed her purse down, her eyes locked onto David, a wordless question hanging in the air. "Today you found yourself back home sooner than you typically do. It seems that you frequently come home later than I do, David." David, as always, radiated a serene confidence and calmness. With a gentle smile, he approached my mother, his steps filled with intention. As he reached for her purse, he gently remarked, "I finished early today," wishing to spark a moment of happiness as they headed home to share a meal together. "It appears that you've been navigating through some challenging times recently." Her words, rich with warmth and wisdom, sent a shiver through me, awakening feelings I believed were long forgotten. She seemed to radiate a spirit of freedom, unscathed by the chaos or regret that hung in the air following the recent events. My mother graced me with a gentle smile, opting for quietude instead of questions. She glided into the kitchen, embarking on the well-worn routine of dinner preparation, her thoughts blissfully unaware of the faint whispers of something being off. Yet I discovered myself in a place of solitude. Each step I took, each feeling I experienced seemed to have changed in ways that were beyond my understanding. My view of David had transformed, and the closeness I once experienced was now colored by a separation that I could no longer overlook. My eyes overflowed with a storm of anger and bitterness, yet an unexplainable force restrained me. The burden of shame and guilt softly finds its way into my heart, an uninvited guest that lingers demanding attention. From that moment on, despite the silence that had settled between David and me, I realized that what we once had could never be revived to its previous glory. Every day in the midst of our shared environment, I was consumed by a persistent feeling of dread and remorse, as if caught in a perpetual dark tale. At family dinners, I noticed that David's eyes seemed to stay on me a bit longer than usual. The expression had shifted, no longer reflecting the affection of a husband towards his stepdaughter. Instead, it bore an eerie heaviness that sent a shiver down my spine. My mother, who had always believed in me and cared deeply for David, was unaware of the hidden tensions that surrounded us. Every time I passed her by, I looked away, but inside me remained a persistent dread that I couldn't shake off. Every time my mother beamed, her eyes sparkled with happiness, and in those instances, I experienced an even greater sense of conflict within my soul. I yearned to share, to reveal the burden of my pain to my mother, but I discovered that I didn't possess the courage to express it. In a realm of my own design, I discovered I was ensnared, surrounded by barriers built from unyielding, haunting reflections that reverberated without cease in the depths of my consciousness. It reached a point where I could no longer endure it, and in that instant of realization, I understood that I had to turn away. I confided in my mother about my longing to venture out on my own, sharing that I had grown into adulthood and was ready to embark on the path of independence. At first, my mother found herself surprised, wrestling with a truth that was hard for her to accept. She found it difficult to understand the motivations behind my sudden decision, particularly given how deeply I had always wanted to be close to her. She beckoned me to remain, to seek comfort in the warmth of our intertwined lives. "It's all right," she comforted. "Let me share the journey with you, so you never have to navigate it by yourself. The dangers lurking beyond are far too great." Her voice carried a weight of worry, but I remained steadfast. I shared my conviction that I was prepared to look after myself, that this path was crucial for my development and comprehension of existence. My mother finally reached a conclusion, but her thoughts were still shrouded in lingering doubts. That was the third reason I decided to part ways. A truth I felt I had to keep shrouded in secrecy from her. As I walked away from that house, an unexpected heaviness lingered, overshadowing any sense of relief I thought I would feel. The pain settled deep inside, but the distance between us provided a momentary escape from David's eyes and the haunting memories I longed to forget. I realized that this was not just a journey towards liberation. It was my only way to free myself from the burden of oppression and the agony that seemed impossible to overcome. Every individual's path is filled with unexpected occurrences and significant trials. Life presents us with unexpected moments that test our core, and it is in the journey through these challenges that we unveil our authentic selves. History unfolds as a powerful narrative of the battle against the weight of guilt that arises from being open and the natural urge to protect oneself from pain. In times of danger, it is essential to discover your voice, to express yourself when those who are supposed to protect you turn into the cause of your suffering. In the stillness, a weight can settle upon the heart, yet revealing your truth can illuminate the path to recovery. In times of chaos, quietude can provide a brief escape, but it can also transform into a restrictive prison, trapping you in a loop of pain and isolation. Connect with those who can offer guidance, be it loved ones, companions, or groups that resonate with your experiences. In times of profound contemplation, it becomes evident that accepting reality can act as a significant force for freedom, opening the door to a fresh narrative in one's journey. Furthermore, be mindful of your feelings. In times when the known environment fails to provide comfort, when the core of solace seems to vanish, it is essential to face the truth of transformation. Departing is not just a way out, it acts as a shield for one's well being. I encourage parents to stay connected to their children's feelings and behaviors, as these often carry unspoken messages that may be overlooked. Sometimes small changes in behavior and unclear expressions can suggest deeper problems that they might not even be aware of. In times of fragility, the warmth of compassion and empathy can weave a protective haven for children, guarding them from the shadows of hurt they might be too scared to face. Embrace your bravery and strength, for you deserve a life brimming with tranquility and happiness. This chapter of my journey comes to a close here. I'm grateful to all of you for being present and for your openness to hear what I have to share. If this struck a chord with you, I encourage you to express your support by liking the video and subscribing for more insights. Activate the notification bell to keep yourself in the loop with our forthcoming tales. Goodbye.